Welcome to Hena's epic Armageddon battle report. This is a 3000 point game between Lost and the Damned and Death Korps of Krieg. The lists are NetEA lists and there will be a link in the description below. Then let's look at the armies. Here is the Lost and the Damned. This is slightly modified of my usual list as it includes plague zombies. And it's a change only list. So first we have a Coven 1. Then we have a Coven 4. Then we have Coven 2, and then we have Coven 3. Then there is some models for plague zombies. Then we have silver towers, 2 batteries of artillery, and thunderbolts. And that's the Lost and Damned. Then the Death Korps of Krieg. And first we have Death Riders, then we have one set of Thunderbolts, then there is a Regimental HQ, pair of Warhounds, then we have 2 separate sets of Grenadiers with Kogan, then we have a second Death Rider company, and a second pair of Thunderbolts, and then we have 2 flak groups, and then finally Earthshaker artillery. And that's it. Now there is a mistake here in the deployment, so that's why this has been slightly longer for me to do. So first, flak 2 from Krieg side is set to Overwatch, and then the Coven 2 is deployed in the end, in the front as well. So they're both in garrison. And also Coven 1 garrisons forwards in the forest there. Then flak 1 is from Krieg and they are deployed on the road. Then Coven 3 from the Lost and Damned. Then from Krieg, Regimental HQ. And one set of artillery from the Lost and the Damned. Then Grenadiers 2 and artillery from Lost and Damned. And then Grenadiers 1 and Coven 4 from the Lost and Damned. And at this point, yeah, that's what happened. So I lost a segment of the deployment. So Death Riders are deploying to the flanks of the Krieg, and silver towers were deployed in the center. And that's what it looks like. So I don't have the overall shot of the deployment, nor do I have the usual image of the battlefield before the game begins, so this is now the only thing that I have for it. And then turn 1. Lost and Damned win. Artillery 2 sustained fires, targeting the flak and also clipping the horses, breaking the flak and killing a single Death Rider unit. Now then I made a mistake. Instead of retaining, I let the Krieg go and they fired the Earthshakers at the Coven 4, the Mutant Coven, and destroyed a whole bunch of it. And this was the mistake, that I should have done this before. And they sustained fire shooting at the... there, breaking the artillery. Then Death Rider 1 and they march. So I should have really fired the artillery first, but yeah, mistakes happen. Then Thunderbolts from Lost and Damned, they fail to activate. And Flak 2 doubles, switching their positions a little and firing into the forest. And firing into the building at one of the covens. Then the mutants marshal forwards. I made a slight mistake. I was thinking if they were doubling, but obviously they weren't. So there were some units jumping in and others jumping out, so that's why it did that. Then the Grenadiers, they fail to activate, instead of hold and move forwards. Coven 2 also holds as it fails to advance, and Regimental HQ then it does in fact advance. So failures to activate all around. And then they fire at the Coven, killing a big mutant. Then Coven 3 doubles and summons a Great Demon. Now I don't have video of that, so that's they moved and then they shot at there but didn't do any damage. So the idea would have been the macro shot of the Great Demon. Then the ground attack, but at targeting the Silver Towers they didn't do anything more than blast marker. Then the Silver Towers double forwards, doing a little pop-up shots, firing at the... managing to do 1 damage on one of the Gorgons. Then the Warhounds, they advance, taking up positions there and firing into the Coven, wiping out some of the units in open. That's why they were removed from the back. Then some Thunderbolts attacking the mutants again, killing a little one transport. Then Death Riders march, so Lost and Damned had run out of activations at this point. Then Grenadiers 2, which try to double and hold and move instead. And that's what it looks like at the end of the turn 1. So center both are advancing forwards, and the flanks of the Death Korps are trying to wrap around the Lost and Damned, while the artillery stays back for the Lost and Damned. So that's the artillery in the back, Covens forwards, and the Krieg army trying to surround them. So for turn 2, the zombies teleport into the backlines of the Krieg, and then Silver Towers advance as first activation for the turn 2. So the aim here is to try to hit the Warhounds, since they would be in very nasty position. And they manage to do some damage and knock out most of the shields. Then the Coven 3, which engages, they summon Lizard Demons. So the Flamers are summoned, and then they engage, trying to cover as much as they can. And one of the Warhounds charges into close combat. However, one of the Warhounds is destroyed and the other one survives, broken. Then ground attack from Thunderbolt kills 2 artillery, and they move into the forest, broken. Flak 2 tries to sustain fire and holds instead. Artillery 1, using Supreme Commander, managed to sustain fire at the Death Riders on the right flank and not do much damage. Then the Death Rider failed to activate. Lost and Damned again summon demons, so Flamers, and into the Death Riders they engage. So there is a couple of Hellhounds, Flamers, and that should be sufficient, maybe. And they do win. So one of the units, Hellhounds, die, and the Death Riders are broken. Then they consolidate a little, assuming that there is going to be a counter from the Grenadiers. However, they, instead of advancing, manage to hold and just shoot, destroying a little. Then the zombies, which engage the artillery, trying to get into close combat since they don't have firefight weapons, and they manage to win the combat due to mass. And then they spread around a little. Then Grenadier 1, which advances, into the center, and then they start open fire at the Coven. And one unit is killed. Then the Coven 4, which tries to marshal and holds instead, and Regimental HQ, which tries to engage and holds, Coven 1, which also holds, and finally Thunderbolt 2, which manages to make a ground attack, wrecking another Hellhound. Then Thunderbolts from Lost and Damned, they intercept 2 Thunderbolts of the Krieg and destroy them. And that's the end of the turn. So center is moving forwards, Krieg is taking some pounding, while the artillery is being damaged on both sides. And Death Riders still hold the flanks, although now they're broken. One side is broken and the other one is badly mauled. And there is the mutants, the artillery that's still working, and the center Covens and Silver Towers with the enemies right in front. So third round is going to be another engage group, most likely, depending on how it works. And that's how it looks. Then turn 3. No, first Warhound fails to rally and it moves a little. And also Death Riders on the other flank fail to rally and they just move forwards. So turn 3. Krieg win the initiative and Regimental HQ begins with an engage. So they split into 2, as the Gorgons are 3DC war engines, so this is doable. And then they jump out in attempt to engage the Coven. And the Coven just charges forwards in hopes of getting, if there's second round, then they would get in a close combat. However, there is no second round. And they're wiped out without any damage to the Regimental HQ. Then the Grenadiers, they retain and engage. So they target the Silver Towers and the Coven behind them. So since they're now intermingled, they move forwards. And the Silver Towers moved around a little, and the Coven countercharges as well, trying to get into range if possible. One Silver Tower dies, but we have a tie and both sides countercharge again, bringing this time more the Coven units into range. So they countercharge as fast as they can, however it still goes badly for the Lost and Damned and they lose the combat. And the Coven runs and Silver Towers as well withdraw. And some consolidation on the Krieg side. Then Artillery 1, which sustains again, targeting still the same Death Riders, and this time they lose enough that they break. Then the Grenadier 2, which engages, so they now engage the small remnants of the Coven 4, and the mutants try to countercharge to get into range, but it doesn't really matter as they're wiped out. And then they shuffle a bit towards the objective. Then the Coven 4, which summons lesser demons and tries to engage but fails, and then Krieg fires at the zombies, which then marshal, removing the blast markers and just trying to be as much of a nuisance in the backlines as possible. Moving forwards if they want to engage next turn the flak. Then Thunderbolts, which make a ground attack at zombies, not doing anything, and the Lost and Damned Thunderbolts, which ground attack and kill some Death Riders. And that's at the end of turn 3. So basically, Krieg has broken the front of the Covens, and Lost and Damned is breaking. However, the zombies are at the back line, causing issues, preventing objective holding and the rest. So here we are, the two Coens that are still in reasonably good shape from Lost and Damned, and the Krieg center which is pushing forwards. And on flank we have broken formations both sides. So Death Rider do fail to rally and they just move forward, trying to keep in forest and in cover. And then turn 4. So Greek win initiative, Regimental HQ fails double activate, and then Command 3 hold, Death Rider 1 finally engages. So they charge into the artillery, and cavalry charge kills the tanks. Then the artillery 1 with sustain fires and breaks the flak from the back. They run away from the zombies. Then the Warhound, which tries to advance and instead fails to activate, and takes a blast marker and breaks itself. And thus it falls back out of 30 centimeters. Then Silver Towers, which also repeat the same thing, and they also break themselves and fall back. So neither side can do much in there. Then the Flak 1, which advances, swinging around and taking a pot shot at the zombies. Then Thunderbolts, which stand down. Then Greek Thunderbolts, which make a ground attack, that do much. Then Cohen 1, which holds instead of marshalling, and Grenadier 2, which doubles. So they finally managed to do something. So they double back, trying to get rid of the zombies, which are currently contesting the Blitz objective at the back. However, they quite can't get rid of them, as they're one blast marker away from breaking. And then they marshal, removing blast markers. So that's not going to make the whole thing easier for the Krieg. So then Grenadier 1, which tries to double and hold instead, and then end phase withdrawal, the Krieg horses move forwards to get into range of the Silver Towers, so they would rally backwards. However, this is turn 4, and we still don't have the conditions filled, so that's at the end of the game. And so we go to counting points, and the point difference is 1400 for Greek and 1200 for Lost and Damned. So that would be a draw according to us, since we think that you need more than 10% difference in order to win. So more than 300 points would be needed. So after all that combat, nothing has been resolved, and it's a draw. And that's it. I hope you liked the battle report. And the music is by Kevin MacLeod, and the software I've been using is here, so I hope you enjoyed the battle report. Thanks, and bye.